Hello, my name is James Malik. I'm writing a tutorial introduction for a development workshop that I've been working on. I have this in SharePoint, and I'm going to be working through the first two slides at the moment on this, the author and host of this production. The intent of this module basically is the creation of a development module, which came to me over the past couple of years. Many people have seen what I've been creating at work and have asked me to teach them these processes. Although I have a lot of years of programming experience, I'm also quite experienced in best practices for what we can do with this tool in a work environment. My programming experience is far beyond VBA. And I look at it and I say, well, what can we do with VBA? In the work environment, we can do a lot with it because Excel and the programs that go along with it are open to everybody at work. In a work environment, this is a fantastic tool to be used, because when we look at it, we say, well, I'm learning this, I'm using it, I'm using Excel, I'm using Word, I'm using Outlook. All these are basically applications that we're commonly used on a day-to-day process. So why not add more to them? Why not take what we do and extend on it, make it better and more versatile? The design of this course is to flow in a way which I feel is consistent with the basis of programming language techniques. You can look around the internet, you can find a lot of tutorials, you can find a lot of learning guides, you can find a lot of things. The guide that I'm working on, though, is a development workshop. It starts off with the history and the logic of VBA. I work into explaining the VBA interface and some standards that I've commonly come to use. I have the need for standard definitions. I explain some of the standard definitions that I use. I try to get through them. I discuss programming logic and the way it's driven from your own personal logic. The ways that these things happen in programming is a little bit different than your standard logic, because generally people don't think of everything when they're passing through certain applications. So what you find is that the programming logic is the way you talk to your kid. If you have children, you'd say, do this, go to this, do this exactly like this, with the understanding that they know nothing beyond it. Which obviously is not true. You know stuff, I know stuff, everybody knows things, even children know things, obviously, but they don't think of everything as they're going. So you need to tell your computer exactly what to do. I'm going to work through a lot of code, probably quickly for some and probably very slowly for others. So bear with me on these tutorials. There's a huge basis, obviously, of knowledge available on the internet, and what I've written here is possibly irrelevant. I've designed it so you'll be able to research on your own, though, and see the way others teach. That you can pick up a book, you can take a look at a website, you can look at Google, you can find anything you want, and take that knowledge and make it useful for you. Google's a wonderful tool. I use it all the time, obviously. Everyone does, but Google is only as smart as you are, right? So if you put in there Excel VBA if statement, Excel VBA tutorials, Excel VBA how to calculate dollar values, you can get tutorials on almost anything, but they're not written in a specific way that will help you from a beginning point of view. And to continue together collaboratively, I think this is a good approach. There's a lot of people at work and a lot of people publicly who may be looking at this and saying, hey, I want to learn this in this exact way. I don't care about what a website says. I don't care about what anyone says. I just want to learn it from you. And if you're here and you want to learn this from me, I'm here to teach it. I have a message board set up. I'm going to be posting a lot of tutorials. I'm available on Facebook. You can email me. You can do whatever you want. And hopefully I'll be able to respond quickly. I'm going to take a few more senior members of the team who's working with me possibly on this, if I can collaborate a team together, and hopefully they'll be able to assist and moderate the forums as well and talk about standardization of these things. What you can use here can be actually applied to your events in your everyday workplace. If you come in, you power your computer on, you open Outlook. The second you open Outlook, you can have automation occur. You don't even have to open Outlook. It's this kind of thing that you can think of. Whatever you want to do will happen. You can make your computer initiate Outlook. You can have your computer, when you turn it on, open a program, work on it, if you really wanted to. I wouldn't recommend going that far on it, but you have Outlook open, you have a spreadsheet sitting there, you can make it do something, and almost anything that you can do with your daily jobs can be enhanced using VBA. The logic behind a lot of websites and a lot of things that people think is that they should copy code and it's going to help them learn it. It doesn't work. I've tried it. I used to try it with a lot of different programming languages when I was learning, and I didn't find it very useful. I found having a dual monitor setup or another monitor sitting beside you with a tutorial up or code sitting there and actually typing it into the VBA module or wherever you're going to be typing these things is a lot better, because it gets you used to the hand movements, the indents, the tabs, the keys that you don't really use. All of these things are useful. It also gets you a sense of typing the code out as opposed to recording it, which is another wonderful thing. For me, I learned by experience, by being faced with something and making it a reality. A lot of people don't really learn that way. A lot of people learn by books. I'm hoping this method that I'm teaching here will be used by some people as well. I was going to do this in a live environment, but I'm not allowed to. Eventually, I may look into another type of video construction. I'm going to push through these tabs slowly because I don't want you to get too bored of just listening to my voice. Maybe if I have anything that's relevant to those tabs, I'll go to them. I'm going to be building more modules like this later and going over to those tabs. So you can have that. You can also download this directly off my website at armagon.com. That website is not just for VBA, it's for a lot of things. I'm going to be reformatting it in a bit, and I think you may like what you see there. At very least, this is in PowerPoint, so should be available on most people's computers. I'd recommend using VBA personally to enhance your own work to start off with, at very least, as opposed to enhancing others' work. I think when you're learning, this is the best way you can do it, because it'll allow you the freedom to write your own code, make your own mistakes and learn from them, to build up both your own knowledge and techniques without the critiquing of others. A lot of the time when you build code for other people, they'll put in place a lot of bad data, functions or frozen cells or various different things, formulas, and they'll tell you that you wrote bad code when you just weren't taking into account what they were writing in. You can get around this by putting in a lot of fixes for that. Things that strip out formulas, things that will take formatted code, frozen cells, undo them, passwords, and remove them, rename spreadsheet 1 to a certain name, remove additional spreadsheets, remove pivot tables, whatever you want, you can make it do, but the more stuff you put in, the more code you're going to have to write. Now you can make libraries of code that you can reference back to it and repeat that, but best thing to do is don't write anything for anyone else for the first while until you get really good at it. Then you can start with it later if you want to, but you're going to have to know that you're probably going to maintain that code later, unless you get some kind of repository for code and standardization around it and you heavily comment it. A comment is when you look at a piece of code and you write some code down, you can put a single quote beside it and it becomes a comment for that area of code. If you were to write it, if James picks up his coffee, you put a single quote beside it, and inside that you'd put a description of what that's actually doing. It says James puts his hand out, lifts his cup, and that would be an if statement. A very bad if statement, obviously, but it's just the idea of the comment, and you don't want to have to write too many comments in because your code looks unreadable. There's a certain balance that you have between commenting and code that I try to find. It's hard when other people are using your code, so write it for yourself to start off with and get used to the way that's working. At the bottom here, I've explained that I'm developing a message board, which I'll use to collaborate ideas, best practices, questions, and comments. This will be a good basis for a community of questions which you may have. It'll also allow others to assist you if I'm unavailable. I have a link at the bottom here which you can use from this, or you can just type it into your browser and go there. You'll have to register. I will approve your registration. Please use your name, and if I don't know you, please send me an email. I just don't want people taking a lot of this work away from what I'm doing. I guess that's it for now. I'm going to continue on these modules. Please let me know if you have any good feedback on this. I apologize if I've repeated thinking too much while I'm writing this. It's not my intent. My intent behind this is to teach. It's not for the etiquette of my own voice. I don't know if that makes sense, but I'll talk to you soon, and hopefully I'll hear from you, at least some of you, and I'll hear some positive feedback. Thank you. Bye now.